In today's episode, I am joined by Carrie Watson with Outside Looks, and we are talking about inventory, about how long you should keep inventory, about how to turn inventory, get rid of the inventory, about relationships with the brands you sell. This is all about your inventory. So I know that you're going to get a lot out of this episode. I just love Carrie. A little bit more about her before we dive in. Carrie Watson went from a corporate inventory planner at Fossil to the lead buyer for a 10-door indie retailer and learned how difficult buying is for the average retailer. As the founder of Outside Looks Retail Consultancy, Carrie's mission is to modernize and profitize indie shops with the latest merchandise intelligence, data driven metrics, and mentorship techniques. You can learn more at Outside Looks. And Carrie's name is Carrie. We talk about her email address at the end if you wanted to email her, Carrie at Outside Looks. And let's just dive in. This is a great episode. Here we go. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Crystal Vilkaitis, the Wolf of Main Street, and this is Rooted in Retail. Carrie, welcome to Rooted in Retail. I'm thrilled you're here.
Thank you, Crystal. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So we're going to have an awesome conversation. I'm very excited to learn more from you. But before we dive in, will you take a couple minutes and share a little bit more about your retail journey?
Of course. Well, my retail journey started when I was a kid. I loved being creative and entrepreneurial at the same time. And in high school, I hand knit beanies and sold them to my classmates.
Oh,
Also, at the time, I aspired to be Rachel Green on Friends. She was a buyer at Ralph Lauren, and
yeah.
it was just a cool thing. And I always had, I guess, like a lady crush on her. So, that was something that was important to me in balancing creativity and this analytical entrepreneurial part of myself, and I identified that pretty early. I went to Texas A&M in College Station. I have my marketing degree, I have my retail certificate, and straight out of college I worked at the Fossil corporate headquarters, and I was the leathers and jewelry planner for the UK and Australia for a while, and learned amazing things from all of my coworkers and my boss, and really how to manage inventory, plan for inventory over time, and how to make the domino effect of merchandising, visual and inventory planning, how to make that look beautiful in the stores. And however, Dallas was not home. So I came back home to the Austin area. I live in Texas, and I got started in outdoor retail. So I worked for a company that had a handful of stores, and we sold brands like Patagonia, the North Face, Yeti, all those kinds of things, and really found a home in outdoor retail. And so that's been my particular niche since about 2010, 2011. And fast forward, I found inventory planning. I was the merchandise manager for that company. I had a team of 7 buyers, and I just continued to love the geeky, nerdy Excel spreadsheet part of all of this, of what made our stores tick. And I loved it so much that I realized that I have this corporate training and special niche background and specialty of understanding. I wanted to teach other retailers exactly what I knew and help specialty retailers become an expert at managing their inventory so that they felt like they were in control of it. So here I am. I have
Oh my
a
goodness.
consultancy that's called Outside Looks, and we've been open, or I started that consultancy back in 2016. And I am a Management One affiliate. So I am very friendly with Dane Cohen and that whole crew out that way. So sorry, that
Yeah.
might have been a little long, but here I am.
No, that was perfect. You're super rooted in retail, so you had to take us through what's going on and with your experience. You have some great experience, and we love people like you that like the nerdy stuff and the spreadsheet side, because that's not always the most fun or sexy thing for our retailers. Some of them love it, but sometimes we just love working with our customers and we love buying, and so you've got to have have that balance to have a successful store. So I'm excited that you're here to share some of your knowledge. So let's dive in because I'm curious if there's a retailer that's listening to this right now and they want to quickly improve their business, what would you say is the low hanging fruit that they could focus on first?
Yeah, great question. The low hanging fruit is the age of their inventory. Is there anything on their shelves that they're making an excuse for?
Mm,
It's too hot. It's too cold. The season hasn't started yet. Oh, but I really love it. And that one customer, I bought it exactly for them. So, aging inventory is likely the most dangerous low hanging fruit, or the
okay.
easiest dangerous low hanging fruit to pick off their tree,
Yeah.
if you will. But yeah, that's if inventory is a ticking time bomb a lot of times because there's an invoice with dating associated with it. And so if you haven't sold that product by the time that it's time to pay for the invoice, then you're actually dipping into your operating funds to pay for an invoice for a product that really needs to be sold ASAP.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I've heard before, probably from Dane and or Kathy, that your inventory should not have a birthday. So is there a rule like of how quick the inventory should, or like you don't want it to last a year, or is that still too long, or does it really depend on the category? Like how do I know if the inventory, I love that filter of am I making an excuse for it? Like that's a really good one. How else do I know if it's been too long in my store?
Yeah, great. Yeah, great question. I do agree with you on category. There are certain products designed to last a little bit longer. Women's fast fashion, these items are so seasonal and fickle, for lack of a better term, that they really need to go as quick as possible. But the where I'm at in outdoor retail, we have really core products like rolling luggage and hiking footwear, and those SKUs from the brands, they last for 3 or more years. So those items we can kind of afford to have a little bit longer because they're more consistent.
Okay.
No matter what, the rule of thumb is you need to sell half of your invoice by the time it's due. Because
Mm,
if we think about, if roughly speaking, your invoice is Keystone, if you sold or if your invoice was $100, and if you sold half of that product for a 2-time markup, then you have $100 to pay for that invoice. So that is the absolute like back to basics rule that I have about how quick you should be able to pay for something.
I love that. So that is something that our listeners can really take a look at. And are you paying half the invoice by the time it's due? I love it. That makes it very practical, something that they can implement and start looking at right away, which is so good.
Yes.
Okay, good. That's good low hanging fruit for sure.
Yeah,
Don't have excuses for those items. Get them out.
I
Now, as
agree.
we were preparing for this, you describe yourself as a dietitian for retail businesses, which I love. Can you explain how monitoring sales, the age of stock, and buying budgets can help maintain a healthy inventory and boost profitability?
Totally, totally. Well, our specialty retail business, our boutique is our lifeline. I can equate it to a healthy or an unhealthy body, a living, breathing organism. The way that I express it to my clients is your inventory is your weight, how much you weigh. And there is a healthy BMI, there is a healthy weight versus maybe a weight that's not ideal,
Mhm.
whether it's too thin, because that's unhealthy, or if it's a little chubby, and that's not healthy either. As an inventory dietitian, I can help schedule, I can help you plan budgeting for the receipts of the product and the merchandise that you need to receive to maintain that healthy body weight. So let's say that we think that calories are the same thing as receipts into the store. You're ingesting calories, receiving into your boutique. And then sales are a form of exercise. So full price sales, amazing. That's the easy stuff. But if you have to run a promotion or a discount, then you're having to exercise really hard to make sure that your body weight ends up at the right spot. So it's all of that. It's just balancing the calories, the exercise to make sure that your business has a healthy body weight in the long
Mm.
term and cash flow overall.
Right. That's a really great way to look at it. I love that. I love we don't want to have too thin of a business or too chubby of a business. We want to make sure that we are just right and that we're not working so hard. I feel like sometimes our retailers just working so hard to stay in that healthy business zone, going back to the first question of inventory and really taking a look to see if it needs to move. What would you recommend to kind of help have that healthy business to move the inventory? Do you have an example or two of a sale that retailers should run, or how can they move it quicker if they're kind of stuck with this longer inventory to help them be healthy?
Yeah. One of my favorite promotions, we work with my team at Outside Looks. There's two other people that help me with Management One planning. And we plan over $100 million worth of business for specialty retailers. And when it's the coming of the minds of Ryan and Claren and myself, we love this is always the hottest topic that we talk about. What are people doing in the marketplace to be engaging with their shoppers and to get conversion happening?
Mhm.
And from my standpoint, there's a lot that the sales floor people can do that the marketing folks can do, but really our focus is a little bit more on pricing and the age of inventory. So when you do feel like something's getting older, what can we do with pricing that is engaging to our shoppers? One of the favorite sales I've ever heard was buy one half off, get one free.
Yeah.
And this was like the last ditch clearance effort. So this retailer had a sidewalk sale with that promotion happening, but then inside they had the store completely flipped into their brand new full price merchandise. And
Mm,
so while people felt like they were saving so much on the sidewalk sale, they would usually go and buy a couple of things at full price too. So
nice.
that's one of my favorite, kind of any kind of discount or sale that we can do with multiples is fabulous. Yeah.
Yeah, love it. And I love how the store was then ready inside for fresh inventory to pull them in to then sell that as well. That's a great example. Love it. Okay, so staying on these example trains here, you get to see a lot of creative ideas in retail. We love talking about success stories and creative things retailers are doing. It is time to think differently about retail and about your store. And it's really important that we're thinking differently about customers and what's going on in the world because let's face it, things are changing quickly. And if we're not evolving, we are being left behind. That is exactly why I created the conference Evolve. And I would love to see you in the room April 4th and 5th in Denver, Colorado. And just by being a listener of the show, you can save $200 on tickets. You can go to crystalmediaco.com/evolve and use the code ROOTED to save 200. That's ROOTED to save 200. Now, here's the deal. This agenda is fire. You can see the speakers on that page, but we're talking about all aspects of retail, new ideas for your store, things that you can add in to create revenue streams where you're making money in your sleep. Would you like that? I bet you would. I'm so excited for that topic. We're talking about marketing, social media, how to build a strong foundation. We're talking about money and profits. We're talking about exit strategies in case you are planning an exit. We are covering so many aspects of retail at Evolve that you're not going to want to miss this content. It's going to help you be a better business owner. Plus, you get to connect with all the other retailers that are going to be in the room and the retail pros that we're bringing in. So get your tickets. There's a solid chance we're going to sell out. And the longer you wait, the prices will be going up. So get your tickets today. And I can't wait to see you there. So, what's the coolest thing you've seen a retailer do recently that made a big impact?
From my experience as an inventory consultant, retailers have a tendency to love the brands, be in their back pocket, love their sales reps, have fantastic long lasting relationships with vendors, suppliers, whoever, right? It's not that sexy, but the best, most creative thing that I've seen people do that have healthy businesses is that they're going through a very pointed exercise of breaking up with the brands that no longer make sense for their store. We go through an exercise occasionally with my clients where how many brands, how many vendors, how many suppliers do you have? Because the more that you're a social butterfly with your suppliers, the less time that you have for yourself working on your business. And this is a sneaky, sneaky, sneaky time suck. More line
Mm.
showings, more traveling, more orders, more invoices, just overall more things to manage. And I always encourage my folks to maybe run a brand report from a couple of years ago. How many brands did you have back then? How many brands do you have right now? And is there a big difference where you're feeling spread too thin?
Mm.
And is it a healthy exercise to maybe recognize your core set of brands and be less of a social butterfly and really hone in on what makes you special and protect your time a little bit more that way?
That's huge. I just feel like obviously our retailers are very busy when, especially if you have a brick and mortar, like you are going into the building and you're cleaning and you're stocking and you're training and you're working with customers, like you're doing so much. The Having them do this brand assessment or audit, what did you call it? Did you have a name for it?
Yeah, I mean, a brand audit's great.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Where we're really analyzing that relationship and seeing and making sure it's serving us in all, it's almost like you got to check all the boxes, right? From that audit standpoint. Is it selling well? Is this relationship manageable? Am I spending too much time? Am I not getting enough time? Do I need more training? Does my team need more training or resources from this brand to help promote and sell? I just feel like that's such a great, yes, it takes the time. Like I could hear a retailer driving right now listening saying like, but then where do I have the time to do this? But it's like it's going to take the time to do the brand audit, but you can get, it's only making a healthier business. It's setting you up for success to really make sure you're leveraging these relationships, having the right relationships, or maybe breaking up with them, like you said. Something I say a lot in my business is just because that's the way it's always been done doesn't mean that's the way it always should be done. Like if we need to make a change here, if we need to do it a totally different way, then let's do that. Let's evolve. And I think that we can, it's so easy to get kind of caught up working with the same people, having the same kind of habit that we do in our businesses, but it might be a time suck or not really serving us.
Yeah. And just one more point to add, if I may. When you go in deep with the brands that you really trust, then you get more rewarding relationships, more
Mm,
profitable relationships. You get more help and support from those brands because, quite frankly, they're making more commission off of you. And so they want
right.
to help you grow that business. Whereas if you have a lot of really small accounts, really small people that support you, then no one really wants to help you because the juice ain't worth the squeeze for your account. And that's the last thing that we want. We want to be good, strong vendor partners with our brands.
Yeah, it's so true. I love it. All right, let's talk about some retail financials because that obviously it's critical to the success of any business. You've got to know your numbers, you've got to be in tune with your finances, but it can also be really overwhelming for a lot of people, not just retailers. I think a lot of people. So, do you have any tips or tricks to make understanding and managing financials easier for indie shop owners?
Yeah, this is one of the hardest things to feel comfortable with. Most folks start in retail because they love marketing, they love sales, they love the visual aspect, they love the branding aspect. But really, when it comes to the financial part, I mean, most bookkeepers, accountants, they go off and do other things. So this is nobody's forte. So, first and foremost, it's okay to be humbled by the fact that we know nothing about financials, but also give yourself some leeway and some flexibility in understanding this grand concept. My word of advice is to keep it as simple as humanly possible. Make sure that you understand your P&L with a combination of loans or any kind of liens that you have in combination, because the two documents, your P&L or your profit and loss statement, also called an income statement, people call it 14 different things, but then combined with your balance sheet. So, profit and loss is a great key to your business because it outlines what your sales are for a certain period of time. It tells you what the cost of goods sold are as well, and it gives you an overview of your expenses. And this is something that I work with prospects. I work with all kinds of retailers on reading through their financials and telling them or identifying opportunities and risks within their financials, and even creating a break even statement for them so they know exactly how much money they need to sell within a year in order to break through to the out of the red and into the green on their financials. The tips here are really just understanding the top line of those things. But then the caveat to that is going to be how it flows in with your cash, because cost of goods sold and the amount that you're paying on payables, it's an abstract difference, but there is a difference between the two because invoices are cash leaving your business, whereas your cost of goods sold only really looks at the items that have sold. It's not looking at those items that are still stuck in inventory aging. So if that concept feels fuzzy, please reach out to us at Outside Looks. And that's one of the best, most engaging conversations that we can have with retailers is really diving in and understanding their financials with them.
Yeah, that sounds like probably the place to start for sure. So we will include your contact information if anybody needs some additional help, if you need organizing that. What would you say, I've talked to a lot of retailers. It seems like a lot of them are using QuickBooks. Like what is your preferred way, or what do you think the best way for retailers to actually manage their finances?
I agree. QuickBooks is usually QuickBooks Online is usually the best way for retailers to sync up with their bookkeeper, to sync up with their accountant. And it just takes practice with financials. So setting time on
Mm.
your schedule to study your financials, and occasionally it takes actually printing paper reports and putting it in a binder month after month and flipping through and comparing so that you can start to get sensitive to the numbers, what's normal, what's abnormal, and even engaging with other business owners in your area or in any kind of retail support groups, maybe even other crystal media retailers would be open to sharing their financials with each other.
Yeah. Oh, I'm really glad that you made that call to action of just opening up with each other, because one thing we really saw at Evolve for our VIP attendees, they get to have lunch together. And so they're around this table, they're having lunch and they're exchanging, like, where are your numbers out? What are you doing to see
Yeah.
the sales? And we got so much feedback from like the lunch alone was worth coming to Evolve. Like the speakers are amazing, but the lunch, because they want that connection, they want to hear from each other on how they're doing things, where are they at, and not really a comparison. They weren't comparing. It's just like, let's network with each other, let's support each other, and let's kind of get a pulse on our industry. So we have a Rooted in Retail Facebook group. Go into the group if you're willing to share your either, maybe you're not posting your financials in there, but if you're willing to connect with another retailer, you could do a post in there and say, hey, this is who I am. Is there another retailer like me? Do you want to connect and talk and exchange some information? I think there's so much power in talking to another business owner that's like you, to generate ideas, hold each other accountable. So I'm really glad that you said that. I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, you're not alone, I promise.
Exactly. You're so not. That is one big thing we find a lot. Well, I'm very special because, or I have this very unique issue because, but we've heard it all. Like that it's often not unique and not special. Somebody's probably dealt with it and could probably help you through that as well. So let's use each other. And that's a big part why we have the show and why we have amazing people like you who are here to help our retailers. So I love it. Okay, Carrie, are you ready for the resilience round?
Let's go.
Okay, let's do it. Best business book.
It's so silly. But my college professor had her own retail math book. I still have it and I still use it to this day.
Oh my God, I love it. Is this a
Yeah.
book you could buy or is it just like something that she created?
She created it and it was available at the print like copy shop. And it's one of those, it's in my closet, but it's one of those just like silly spiral bound, curly, highlighted, all the coffee stains in the world are on it.
Yep.
But yeah, Professor Lambert from A&M.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much. That's awesome. Best retail technology like an app or software.
Well, I just have to plug Management One here because of the artificial intelligence, the EDIs that we use, the predictive analytics with sales forecasting. I mean, we're looking at 12 months worth of future facing sales forecasts and then the right amount of inventories that should go back to match to support
Mm.
those sales. We do it by category. We update numbers every single night if you have compatible software. So, yeah, it's amazing. I've been a part of the team, the Management One team, I guess, for, oh my gosh, for 8 years. Is that right? But yeah, so yeah, I'll plug Management One there.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely a good one. We highly recommend our retailers to use Management One. The software is incredible. So I agree. Such a good one. How do you keep up with the ever changing retail landscape?
I have a handful of newsletters, Retail Brew, The Hustle. I get The Skin, which is a little bit more news. But honestly, our 40 plus retailer network is the most insane way because we have this outdoor industry lean. I know when brands are shipping, I know when they're delayed, I know when ASAPs are coming faster than pre-seasons. I know there's just, a handful of industry gossip that's involved. So really just being one-on-one with our clients is the best way to have the most like grassroots organic approach.
So true. To help retailers be stronger, more rooted in success, what's an inventory management foundational best practice?
I'd say the best practice there is to look after your aging inventory, like we talked about, but to add to that discussion, learn about inventory turn. And if you're
Mm.
not familiar with it, learn about it and start to try to understand how that impacts how much inventory you're keeping, because that's an indicator of how much money is tied up in your business to make it work and to make it tick. So if you don't know about inventory turn, there's some resources on outsidelooks.com, but also just a quick Google or a YouTube video can be helpful as well.
Awesome. Aging inventory and inventory turn. Good foundational best practices for sure. If you had to start your business all over again, what's one thing you would do differently?
I would find help sooner. I think when we own our own business and you're used to being the point person from the ground up, you're used to spearheading everything. You're
Mhm.
used to being that person cleaning the toilets, but also having the $1 million conversation with the next investor or the landlord or whoever. So finding help either through hiring out help, leaning on your friends and your network and other similar businesses to you, just reaching out and not being stuck in your own
Mm.
little bubble. If you find yourself just wheeling and dealing and just getting like inside your head, just take a deep breath and reach out to somebody, because 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, you're going to find some relief and have a great conversation and come back with some new ideas.
So true. Carrie, finally, what do you think the future of independent retail looks like?
I think it looks really strong. I think it looks incredibly strong. The retailers that I see thriving right now they know their customer. They know the demographics, they know their taste level, they know the other stores that they're shopping at, and they are there and prepared and ready for that new product, getting rid of the breaking up with the old product that they no longer need. But they're there to be the source of freshly delivered goods and brands that their clients don't know that they want yet. And to be on the emerging part of fashion and the craveability of new product, being on that emerging side will keep people coming back to your website, back to your social media account, and even back to physically in your store. And creating that reputation is the way that specialty retailers are going to thrive through the next 6 to 12 months.
Great advice. Where can people connect with you and learn more?
Yeah. So outsidelooks.com is my website. And you can also reach me at Carrie at outsidelooks.com is my email address. So that's the easiest way.
Awesome. I love it. We will link to this as well. Carrie, thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your wisdom. It means the world.
Thank you, Crystal. It was my pleasure.
Yes, awesome. Everyone, remember that I am rooting for your success. Have a great week ahead. Bye. Okay, I have exciting news to share. The Rooted in Retail Mastermind is launching this January. It's your chance to connect deeper with me, the retail pros from the show, and an incredible community of resilient retailers, both online and in person, with several meetups throughout the year. Get on the waitlist at rootedinretail.com/waitlist. And don't just listen to the show, be a part of the magic and grow your store with us. I hope to see you there.